What happens when the man behind the scenes decides to step out into his own creation? What truth will he uncover, and what lessons will he learn? Let's dive in to find out. In the heart of a bustling American town lay a sprawling, beautifully maintained park called Golden Horizon Park. The park wasn't just a place for leisure, it was a sanctuary, an oasis for families, joggers, and people from all walks of life. Every bench, every flower bed, every winding trail had been part of a grand vision. That vision belonged to a man named Marcus Reed. Marcus wasn't your ordinary business owner. At 49 years old, he was a self-made millionaire with an empire spanning real estate, leisure properties, and tourism. But Golden Horizon Park was his pride and joy. Unlike his other ventures, this park wasn't built for profit. It was his way of giving back to the community. He rarely visited the park himself, preferring to manage things from the comfort of his skyscraper office. But something had been bothering him lately. Over the last year, Marcus had heard murmurs from his staff, rumors of someone who had become the heart and soul of the park. People spoke of an elderly man who didn't work there officially, but had earned the admiration and respect of everyone who frequented the place. Curious and skeptical, Marcus decided it was time to see for himself. He dressed in simple clothes, a plain blue hoodie, old jeans, and sneakers, and headed to the park one crisp morning, blending in with the crowd. No chauffeur, no assistants, no fanfare. Just Marcus Reed, undercover. As Marcus strolled through the park, he admired the fruits of his labor. Children laughed on the playground, dogs chased frisbees, and couples wandered hand in hand. Yet his mind wasn't on the scenery. He was looking for the man people talked about. It didn't take long for him to find him. Near the main fountain stood an elderly man with a weathered face, a kind smile, and a stooped posture. He wore a simple brown coat and a woolen hat. His name, as Marcus later learned, was Harold Whitman. Harold was handing out small brown paper bags to a group of kids sitting on a bench. Intrigued, Marcus got closer. Inside each bag was a peanut butter sandwich, an apple, and a small carton of milk. The kids beamed with gratitude as Harold gently patted one boy's shoulder and told him to stay strong. Marcus watched as Harold walked over to a young man who appeared to be homeless, sitting quietly under a tree. Without hesitation, Harold handed him a bag as well and sat beside him, striking up a conversation. They talked and laughed like old friends. It wasn't just the act of giving that struck Marcus. It was Harold's presence. There was no pity in his demeanor, no sense of superiority. He spoke to everyone with the same warmth and respect, as if they were equals. Unable to contain his curiosity, Marcus approached Harold later that day, introducing himself as just another park visitor. "Excuse me, sir," Marcus said, extending his hand. "I couldn't help but notice the kindness you've been spreading around here." Harold chuckled. "Oh, it's nothing, son. Just trying to do my part." Marcus decided to probe further. "If you don't mind me asking, what's your story? Why do you do this?" Harold paused, then smiled faintly. "Well, I wasn't always this way. A few years ago, I lost my job at the factory after working there for 40 years. I didn't have much savings, and before I knew it, I was on the streets. People would walk by me like I didn't exist. But then one day, a stranger offered me a sandwich. Just one sandwich. It changed everything." Marcus listened intently as Harold continued. "That one act of kindness reminded me I wasn't invisible. It gave me the strength to get back on my feet. Now, I live in a small apartment nearby. It's not much, but it's enough. I come here every day to do for others what that stranger did for me." Marcus was floored. Here was a man with so little, yet he was giving so much. Over the next week, Marcus spent more time at the park, observing Harold and even helping him distribute the food. The more he learned about Harold, the more his admiration grew. But there was something Marcus didn't know yet, something that would shake him to his core. One rainy afternoon, Marcus decided to follow Harold after he left the park. He trailed him to a small apartment building on the edge of town. Harold entered, and Marcus waited a few minutes before knocking on the door. Harold opened it, surprised but welcoming. The apartment was tiny, with peeling wallpaper and second-hand furniture. Marcus's eyes landed on a small table in the corner, stacked with supplies, loaves of bread, jars of peanut butter, apples, and cartons of milk. "Harold," Marcus began, "I don't mean to pry, but how can you afford all this?" Harold hesitated, then sighed. "I don't have much, Marcus. My pension covers rent and utilities, but not much else. I sell handmade birdhouses at the weekend market to buy these supplies. Sometimes I skip meals myself, but it's worth it." Marcus felt a lump in his throat. This man was sacrificing his own well-being to help others. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. Harold wasn't just kind, he was extraordinary. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. Harold's story had struck a chord deep within him. Here he was, a wealthy man with resources to spare, and yet he had never made a personal sacrifice for anyone. Harold, on the other hand, had so little, yet gave so much. The next morning, Marcus returned to the park with a plan. He called Harold aside and revealed his true identity. Harold was shocked, but listened quietly as Marcus spoke. That's the story, friends. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a pleasure sharing it with you all. Don't forget to comment below and let me know where you're watching from. It's always fun to see the global reach of these stories. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button for more amazing stories, tips, and tricks. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. If you'd like to show some extra love, tap the 3 dots near the share button and send a super thanks.